Midday Chardonnay is all about highlighting multifaceted women, amplifying their voices, and empowering them to share their story within our three pillars: womanhood, wifehood, and/or motherhood. We're bringing beautiful stories of real women to the table that are positive and empowering with the hope of helping the next generation of young girls step into their womanhood boldly and freely. Every discussion is uncorked, aged to perfection, and served with a bouquet of wit and wisdom. Grab a glass, savor the flavor, and let's toast to the great conversation. Welcome to Midday Chardonnay. I'm your host, Janelle J. My next guest is my best friend of over 20 years. She lives life boldly and beautifully, and I'm just so lucky that she's able to balance it all. Aside from that, she's just such a generous and gracious person. So without further ado, I would love to introduce you guys to Ashley Gardner. Hi, Ashley.
Aww.
Thank you for being here. I love you so much.
That was a sweet intro.
Thank
I
you.
was not expecting it.
Yeah. We have been friends for a long time. Actually, when I first moved to this state, she was actually one of my first friends in high school, and she welcomed me in to her crew of friends, and now they are all my best friends. They've been all in my wedding. I've been in her wedding, and we went to school together. We've done some really amazing things together, and sitting here with someone that knows you more than like anyone else on this planet probably is always just a gem, and I don't take this moment lightly. So again, thank you for being here.
I am happy to be here.
Thank you.
And support you.
So once the kids are down for bed and Brandon is off to go play his video games and you get a moment to just unwind, how do you unwind? What did you bring for me today?
I brought my favorite,
What is?
Prosecco.
Ah,
You know, that's something
Bubbles.
I always bubbly. Keep it bright and light.
I love that. Okay, well, let's cheers to that. Thank you for bringing me some
Cheers.
bubbles.
Of course. It's refreshing.
So refreshing. So refreshing. All right, so we'll get started. So one of the things I wanted to talk to you about when I was thinking about my guest list and how this was all going to go, obviously, you were one of the first friends, if not the first friend, to get married. And we were 24 years old. And I just remember panicking. I was like, are you sure? Are you sure?
thought
Are
I
you
was
sure?
crazy.
I really did. Number one, I never wanted to be married. Fun fact. So I just thought it was absurd that she wanted to get married so young. But when she told me about the person that she had met, she just lit up. And I was like, Ashley has never, ever really truly talked about anyone in this manner.
Yeah.
But I still was very hesitant. So walk us through how you met your spouse.
Yeah. So I think we got to go back and give context
Mm-hmm.
about how we grew up
Go right ahead.
in a single parent household.
Correct.
Our moms.
Correct.
We grew up only knowing what we needed to do as women, how to be independent, how to take care of a household
Correct.
from a single parent mindset.
Yeah.
And so I think that really brought a lot of our misunderstandings around marriage, right, into adulthood for us.
Yeah.
And so, like Janelle, I never really had the desire to get married. I wasn't one of the little girls who dreamt of, I need to find my husband. Oh, this is a goal. Like,
Ew.
my dreams were, okay, I need to get a good job, get out of underprivileged circumstances. And that was, I think, both of our sole focuses at the time. So when I did get engaged, yeah, I think it was shocking for the both of us. Like, what is going on?
And then when you met him, like it was so, and the crazy thing is, I think for us, we were just jaded from wanting to have a marriage or even be a part of that, because what if we fail? Like, why weren't our parents successful in marriage, or possibly even just getting an engagement, or whatever
Or what
the
does
case?
it look like?
Yeah.
Like, what is it even supposed to look like? Because we never had those examples. Really.
Right. So
Right.
so when Ashley jumped into it, I was more like extreme no, where she was like, okay, I met someone and it could possibly, and I was like, girl, no, like, look at our parents. Like,
She
do
was
you
like,
want to,
absolutely
I was like trying to hold the
no.
sign up, like, no. But when you met your spouse, tell me about that. Like, I know you guys have a crazy story
Yeah.
of how you met,
Yeah.
and I'd like to hear it from that.
Yeah. So we met in a very weird way.
Mm-hmm.
I was 18 and I was hired to be an extra in Tyler Perry's film. That was the day I learned I would never become an actress because it was just long days, long hours. And ironically, during that filming session, my husband was in college. He was interning as an assistant, and we met that day. When we met, there weren't any sparks or anything. You know what I mean?
Really?
It
No
was
love at first sight?
just, girl, you know the old me.
Yeah.
I was focused. I need to be
Right.
successful.
She's-
I'm not worried about him. I'm not worried about
no
this
emotional.
person. I know. It was black or white.
Black or white. She's very black or white.
So we did meet that day. However, we didn't think anything about it. It was just like a friendly interaction. And I went off to college, to Georgia State University, where we both attended, and he was at Clark Atlanta University. We would randomly meet
All throughout the city.
all throughout the city. Like, if I'm at Walmart shopping for dinner, here he is shopping for dinner. Like, what are you doing here? If I'm at the park, I see him at the park. And so we just kept running into each other. And that sort of introduced us into a friendship. At the time, I was dating someone. He was dating someone. There were no thoughts of us being together. It was purely just friends.
Fraternal.
But I do believe that that is always the foundation of a marriage, and what a marriage should be, friendship.
That's perfect. So let's dive into, like, now you just celebrated year 10 years,
Yeah.
which is crazy because I was in her wedding, like, boo-hooing. I thought I was just going to be losing my friend, and that she would never answer the phone again. And so I was just like, that's
Really?
it. Yeah, I think that's what made me more emotional was like,
Yeah.
I'm losing my friend and I don't know if she's going to answer the phone when I need her. Oh. But she answers. She answers all the time.
I would never. Oh.
Yeah. But in that,
Sweet.
gosh, Ashley, no one has got me to cry yet. Okay. Y'all know I'm a little sourpuss and I cry sometimes. Well, all the time. Yeah, but I think for me it was like I'm losing my best, like not losing you, but like you're about to go into this whole other phase that I know I want no parts in. So how will we relate? You know, like how would we, like what would we have in common?
And I think that's very a
real-
normal feeling. It's a
Yeah.
real feeling for a lot
Yeah.
of people, and a
Yeah.
lot of friendsps don't make it through.
Right. And so I was like,
marriages.
no, I value our friendship enough to want to make it through.
Yeah.
But she never allowed those things to even get in the way of friendship. She's always come through. So now you've celebrated year 10. What does 10 years look like now? Like, what does that look like from year 1, 2, 3? What was the hardest? What,
Yeah. That's a
can you-
loaded question.
break it up if you want to.
So, 10 years of marriage today looks completely different than year 1. Year 10 for us looks like coming into full bloom. When me and my husband met, we were at ground zero. We didn't have anything. We were using one car. Like, let's take it back to the struggle, right? Like,
You moved down to like Macon
we were
with
in
you.
Macon together. I know. Oh my goodness. So, just graduated college. We moved down to Macon.
You got a big
my
girl
husband,
job.
I got a big girl job. My husband quit his job to come with me. Wow.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
At that time, it was very much so like we're building. And I know a lot of people don't really take that route nowadays, but we were
Speak on
building.
it.
I didn't have anything, he didn't have anything. So it's like, how can we build this life together? And at year 10, I say full bloom because we have built the life that we have always dreamt of. We have a beautiful home.
Yep.
We have 2 beautiful children.
That you do.
We have family that supports us, friends that supports us, a good community, church community. And it's beautiful because I know that's not where we started. Year one of marriage was, for us, pretty nice, easy. You know, you're in honeymoon phase. But year 2 and 3, that's when things started getting rough because we ended up getting pregnant right away. Right? And so at the time, things looked a lot different when you start incorporating pregnancies and kids. You start losing sight of your friendship.
Yeah.
You start losing sight of, okay,
What
are
we
date
doing?
nights?
Yeah.
Like,
what are we doing?
we're just
We're just raising this kid and then we go to bed.
I know, and then we go to bed.
And then we haven't talked today.
What kind of life?
Yeah.
And I think it's important to note that any marriage that looks good, any marriage that is worth having takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
And so we've been through some stuff. We've been through some stuff that divorce might have been an option. However, during those points in time, you either have a decision to say, okay, we're going to work through this, or we're going to call it a quits. And every single time we agreed to work through it together. And I think it's worth stating, when you do choose to work through it together, it makes your marriage stronger. It shows that you're committed every single day. It shows that you can get through anything.
Amen.
If you're just willing to put in the work, you know.
Right.
Because marriage, like any other relationship, is you're going to go through arguments. You're going to go through situations where you lose trust sometimes, just as you would with a parent, right? Like, can we all talk about our relationships with our parents?
Yeah.
We go through things. There may be breakdown in communication. There may be breakdown in trust. However, we choose to forgive, work on whatever issue it is, and move on. And I feel like it's worth saying that a marriage is the same as any other relationship.
Yeah.
Expect situations to come up, expect arguments to come up. That's a normal part of the growing process.
Right. Just like you would argue with your mom or, you know,
your brother,
your cousin,
sister.
you still going to be like, okay, but that's family.
Yeah.
And your spouse is your family at that point, you know. So when you graduated and you got your big girl job, how did you know? Because I think right now there's a problem with people seeing like the true potential of someone and just seeing like the fluff of it all, right? Like people are putting on and acting like they are doing X, Y, and Z, and then you get into something and it's just like it just falls apart. There is a thin line of seeing someone's potential and knowing I can hold you down through these moments because I know that once you get to the other side, you're going to be unstoppable.
Yeah.
I did it with my husband, you know, he was in the construction world and the recession happened. And when we were just becoming friends, he was just trying to take me to an all-you-can-eat taco spot on Tuesdays because it was buy one, get one.
And we loved it.
Okay? The queso was popping, and I don't even think I was old enough to drink at the time. So it was fine because I didn't need margarita. But I just saw his potential, and I was just like, hey, this guy is trying. I know you don't have a lot right now, but I know that he's always had this hustle mentality. And I think a lot of people are losing sight of just seeing the potential in someone and just saying, oh, no, you don't have your stuff together. You're not making 6 figures right now. You can't pay my bill. Like, it's so much. Yeah. So how did you see the potential in your spouse to say, I want him to quit his job and move down to Macon with me?
Yeah. So I think that's a really good question because we do see a lot of relationships on social media and everything looks good.
Glam.
And everything looks perfect.
Highlight reels.
Yeah, you get like hashtag goals. It's like, but what's really going on?
Right.
You know, so I'm always hesitant when I see perfect situations on social media. I'm like, what's really going on? Because I know that things do go on in marriages. For me, meeting my husband all the way back then, we were in the same position where he didn't have much.
Right.
I didn't have much. Right. But what I did know at a very early age, I had discernment. I could look at somebody's character and say, oh, he's honest. He's an honest person. Oh, he's hardworking. oh, he's like genuinely a good human being.
Yeah.
He's giving. He put other people's feelings before himself. Like those are qualities I think that you have to dig into. Like, who is this person at the core?
Yeah.
And if they align to your values, then give them an opportunity regardless of the external factors. Are they making six figures? Do they have a Benz? Like you can't.
You can get all those things later on.
Yeah, you can get all of. You should be working towards those goals yourself, okay?
Yeah.
Not relying on somebody else to get them for you. But that's a whole nother story.
Right. Right. And to like jump on that part, you are so ambitious. Not only is she a mom, a wife, a daughter, her mom is they have such a close relationship. She also works at Google. She also is a content creator. And she does a lot of things outside of the traditional role. So speak on your ambitions and saying, you know, you have to work to your own goals, and what does that look like with managing it all?
So I do want to touch on that a little bit because I've had time to explore why I am so driven. And it does boil down to how we grew up in our environment. Seeing a strong woman lead the household and provide for her family. For me, growing up in an underprivileged environment, that was really the motivating factor. I knew that I didn't want that life forever.
Right.
And so it's so funny because in therapy,
Okay, therapy. Come on now.
thank you for therapy, Lord.
Right.
But in therapy, a lot of who I am today is because of those days. Like they feel so close, but really it was like 30 years ago, you know? So why do I hold on to those moments so closely? Initially, what drove me to be successful was fear.
Fear of what?
Fear of not having enough money, fear of not having hot water, fear of
The lights being cut off.
lights being cut off, and like that's how I grew up, you know what I mean? And so I knew that I didn't want that for myself later on in life.
Yeah.
And so initially it was a lot of that fear of being in that situation that drove me to be successful.
Yeah.
Also having a mother who always taught me, you can do that on your own. Like you never rely on anybody or anything. You do it yourself. So if you have a dream and you want to achieve it, you can't wait on somebody to get you there. You have to go achieve it on your own. So I appreciate those teachings and those learnings. And for me, when you ask about how do I balance it all now, I sort of laugh at the word balance.
Because some things fall through. You're not. It's like one thing is here, one thing is here, but we're.
But that's
But
that's
then the
what
next
balance
day,
is.
yeah. But the next day, this one might be up here, and that one might be
Exactly.
down here.
Right. So I've had to change my mindset on like what balance means.
Right.
I get that question a lot. How do you balance everything? People assume that balance is supposed to be a steady every day,
Spinning plates.
and that's
all the
balance.
plates.
But I had to let go of that concept a long time ago and had to acknowledge that really balance is when you feel off in some areas, or you may not be giving 110% to this area. Let's say it's 10%, right? One day, the next day, just give it 100%. You know what I mean? And the 10% and 100%, now you're giving 110%. That's balance. So I think
That's true.
when I definitely feel off, or if I feel like, hey, maybe I'm focusing on work too much today, tomorrow I might take time to spend a little bit more on my own business, or go to my kids' soccer game, or whatever that may mean. And when I am feeling off, I like to go back to grounding practices, right? So waking up, I value slow mornings, even with a full-time job, even with kids. Like, I value a slow morning. So my morning routine with the kids, getting them ready, might look a little bit slower. It might be putting on some music and dancing and still getting them out of the house on time. But it's just a slower morning, you know what I mean? Or picking up the Bible and reading the Bible to pour into myself. That's another grounding practice.
Okay.
So I think it's just about addressing what the concept of balance means to each individual, and just when you're feeling off, just try to
Yeah.
get yourself back up.
That's great. Because it is a balancing act, and
Absolutely.
so one day you might give 100% to one thing, and some other things might fall, and then the next day you can give 100% to those things that fell, but that
Kitchen
other,
not gonna be clean every night.
yeah,
Okay.
every night, no, and it's okay.
And
The
that's
world, yeah,
okay.
the world is not gonna fall apart because
Just
you
in the
left a
morning.
couple dishes in the sink.
Right.
So you're right
Right.
about that.
That's balance.
Totally. So one of the things I wanted to touch on was because you were from a very independent mother who told you you can do things on your own. How have that mindset also been? I'm playing devil's advocate. So how has that mindset been challenging for your husband who wants to lead a household, and you are very strong in your, who you were born to be and who your mother
Yeah.
raised you to
Yeah.
be? How does that affect you guys' communication when he's like, hey, this is my decision, and you're like, this decision is cool and all, but I want this decision? Because, there's a level of submission that comes into marriage, and I know everybody hates that word of submission and all this
Yeah.
stuff, but really there is, right?
Yeah.
There's a reason why we get married, and there are things that we can make decisions on and that they need to make decisions on. So when does it come to a head, or has there been a moment that there was a decision, and you're like, my mama told me I could do this myself, and he's like, you're not by yourself no more, Ashley. What's
Absolutely.
that conversation like?
Yeah. So the personality trait of always being independent has gotten me into trouble in my marriage.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Right.
You go from this personality of always figuring out on your own, always providing on your own, going into a marriage where you now have to partner with someone, you have to submit in ways to someone. And I think initially that concept for me was very foreign and it was very difficult. And I always voiced my opinions. It's like you said, that
I
doesn't
could,
make a lot of sense.
yeah. I'm not
Sorry.
saying anything. I'm just laughing because I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah. So I think for me, when we did go through the very rough patch where it was like, okay, do we want to stay married? It was at that time that it took us actually learning the biblical definition and practices of a marriage. And at that time, we were also able to build a community of other married people. What that did for us was, one, normalized a lot of issues that go into marriages. Like I mentioned before, you cannot be in a marriage without any issues.
Right.
It's just,
Non-existent.
yeah, you have
No.
two imperfect people coming together to do life and build a beautiful life together.
Right.
That's a recipe for stuff to happen.
Stuff will happen.
Right?
Yeah, 'cause
So I think acknowledging and normalizing that y'all are gonna have issues is not if, it's when. I think the other thing for us was when I opened my eyes to what God says a marriage should look like, that helped me to better submit.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
It made me feel like I understood it a lot better. Because a lot of the times when we do hear submit, we know it from a worldly definition.
Right.
And what that looks like is like, you better listen no
Right.
matter what. But if you go into the Bible and you look at what God says,
Yeah.
he not only tells the wives to submit, but he also tells the husbands, you need to love your wife as you love the church, as God loved the church. And so I think finding out what God says about marriage, that really just helped me understand from a biblical perspective how to move, how to operate.
Well, so now if you can go back to like 10 years ago, you're 24 or 20, well, 24, yeah, you're about to
Yeah.
walk down the aisle because you just celebrated your 10 years. So let's say, what would you tell yourself at that moment, right? Like today, Ashley, to 10 years ago, Ashley, like right before you about to walk down, like what would you whisper in her ear as like you're like about to like walk down the aisle? What would you tell her about marriage? Like, were you scared walking down the aisle? Were you nervous? Were you like, oh my gosh, am I making the right decision? Or were you like, sure?
I had peace. I had peace because God really gave me the discernment to know, even back then, that He was the right one for me. That He would accept the full me. And that His values and His characters that had already been built into Him was going to be good enough. So I wasn't nervous. I was at peace. If I could go back and tell that Ashley, 24-year-old Ashley, a word of advice about what's ahead, I would say that marriage is a beautiful thing. Nothing is wrong with marriage. Your marriage and the beauty of it will be determined about how much work you put into it.
Yeah.
If you choose to work at it and commit every single day, you will experience a level of closeness that you wouldn't even imagine.
And that most people in this world probably will never get a chance to experience.
Yep.
It's a different level of intimacy. It's just a different level of someone just knowing you.
Safeness.
Yeah. Protection.
Stability, protection.
And
and it's okay to have those things.
And it's okay to want those things.
It's okay to want and have those things.
Yeah. I agree.
Even if, you never thought about it or you feel like you could provide those on your own, it's okay. I would also say you're going to go through things. You're going to go through things.
It will test you.
But that's okay because that is normal. You go through things in every other part of your life. So why wouldn't you go through it in marriage? But what you can do and what you can take away from going through those things is becoming a better person through those things. A better spouse, a better mother, better friend.
Yeah.
And that's what those things are meant to do.
Yeah.
So enjoy the ride.
Enjoy the ride.
Enjoy the ride.
Yeah. Well, Ashley, thank you so much for sitting with me. I absolutely adore you. I adore your family. And
girl.
I'm so proud of you. I'm so thankful that you joined me on Midday Chardonnay with Janelle J. And I just hope that you know that you balancing it all, and you having the grace to do it, and you still are such a beautiful soul, like that is enough. Like that is enough for the Ashley that I know. That is enough for the people that come in contact with you. Whether you decide to do more or not do more, like it's enough. And I say that just from a place of like, because I know how we are and we're so rah, 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 we can be so ambitious, but I love it because it's a healthy like want and to get those goals and then like be like, oh, we did it. Like, oh my gosh, we're doing this. We can always kind of like, just kind of share those like certain attributes about ourselves that we only understand.
Yeah.
So thank you for
Of course,
being here.
and I am so very proud of you.
Thank you.
You always execute on everything that you want to do. I know that this will be very prosperous for not only you, but other people.
Yeah.
And I hope that you continue to do it and understand that you are enough and what you possess is always going to be good and a gift to other people. So
thank you.
I love you.
I love you too. Thank you guys. That's Midday Chardonnay with Janelle J.